Hello everyone and welcome to SUTV Live. The race for automatic promotion is reaching its climax, and after Middlesbrough were held by Stoke last night, Sheffield United are looking to take advantage. Tonight we follow the Blades to the Black Cats of Sunderland, where a win will open up a 6-point gap over third spot. Before kick-off at 8, we'll bring you all of the team news and get the views of Paul Heckingbottom and Max Lowe, and we've an exclusive interview with Andre Brooks. Kick-off just under an hour away, and for all the match pass information and broadcasting regulations for tonight's game, go to the website sufc.co.uk. Good evening, welcome to our studio here at Bramall Lane. So Middlesbrough missed the opportunity to close the gap on the Blades to a single point in the race for automatic promotion. Now it's time for the Blades to take care of business on Wearside. You can follow the game with us, and alongside me here in the studio, Ellie Wilson, good to see you.
Hiya, you too.
And Mark Duffy, nice to see you both. So many twists and turns in this race for the top two, Mark. Is your heart coping all right with it?
Yeah, but obviously that's just the championship, isn't it? It's to be expected. You know, you get into the business end of the season, and a lot of twists and turns.
And there are probably going to be a few more, aren't there, before the season's done, Ellie?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Like we said, business end of the season. Every game is a tough game at this point, and results haven't exactly gone in United's way so far. So it's interesting to see how they're going to turn it around.
Well, let's have a look at how Sheffield United are going to line up tonight. 4 changes made by Paul Heckingbottom. Out go Bogle, Norwood, Fleck and McBurney. In come Baldock, McAtee, Doyle and Jebison. I think the one that really leaps off the page there, Mark, is the omission of Ollie Norwood, who drops to the bench. What do you make of that?
A little bit surprised, obviously, with so many changes. Obviously, for me, Ollie's such a vital player in that team. But he hasn't really been quite at it of late. And obviously, listening to the manager, we lacked a little bit of energy on the weekend. So I can understand why he's made those changes as well.
I think it's the first time he's not been included in a starting 11 in the league for around about a year, possibly a tad more than that. He's been such an instrumental part for Sheffield United. Are you surprised that he's left out tonight?
Yeah, I'm definitely surprised. He's been, like you say, such a key player for United this season, especially, and been playing some unbelievable football. I think it's fair to say he's probably not been at his best by his standards the last couple of games, but even so, the experience that he brings is something that, do you still just leave him in and just count on the fact that he might turn it around, something, and just give him an extra chance, extra game? But managers obviously made the decision to change it up. That
said though, Mark, can a player like Norwood benefit from having a bit of a break, because he's playing week in, week out? Is he in danger of burning out?
Of course, obviously, Ollie's played, huge amount of games over, not just this season, over the last probably 3-4 seasons. So, like you say, he could be, a little bit of fatigueness. We're quite lucky that we have a player like Doyle to come in. Against Spurs, he was man of the match. Excellent performance. And, he's probably been a little bit unlucky not to start the last couple of games. And, obviously, look, Ollie will be absolutely disappointed that he's not playing, because he's such a huge player for the team, and he's got a massive role still to play. So we'll just have to see how the game goes.
But this is why it's a squad game, isn't it? If the manager needs to freshen things up, and clearly after the Luton defeat at the weekend, where he pinpointed certain areas that weren't good enough, that's the whole point of having the strength in depth, isn't it? That you can make changes like this.
100%, yeah. You want, you need a strong squad. You need a squad that is buying into their roles, whether they're starting players, subs coming into the game. You're going to get injuries, which we've already had a period of that, where there's a lot of squad rotation. Even from a tactical point of view, the manager may want to change things, so it's important that everybody's ready for their shot. And I think when Doyle's had his opportunities, he has performed. So it's just a case of a bit of squad rotation, and hopefully that'll benefit probably Ollie and the team as well.
Let's have a look at the formation that we've become accustomed to now. Are we thinking that Doyle will take the Norwood role tonight? Sander could potentially do that also, couldn't he?
Yeah, I think personally Doyle will take that role. Obviously, going off the Tottenham game, he played that role, fantastically well. And any time I've really seen Sander play there, he hasn't been quite at his best. I think obviously Sander's strengths are, going forward, driving with the ball, penetrating, their midfield and creating. I just think Doyle sort of dictate play a little bit better than what Sander does in there. So I personally think he'll play there.
And McAtee, of course, you've got a player who can find those little pockets. I know the fans were screaming for him to be included at the weekend, so supporters will be happy with that inclusion, won't they, that McAtee's in there again?
Yeah, I'd say so. He's a bit of a flary player. He's a ball of energy. He likes to get on the ball and create something as well. And you could see he didn't get a lot of game time the other day, but when he did come on, I thought he had a positive impact. And he's just exciting. Somebody to support, Illiman and Jai up there as well, and find pockets that would allow Illiman to maybe be higher, and McAtee can kind of do that role in behind the nines. And I think with Sander Berger as well, just sort of sitting on that right hand side, he's got a lot of quality driving forward, and if we can keep him higher up the pitch and allow Doyle to just do the more defensive stuff in a sense, then that could benefit the attacking side of the game.
Daniel Jebison wasn't included at all at the weekend, but starts tonight. What do you think the reasoning is behind that selection?
Probably his physicality. He probably offers a little bit more with his, his pacing behind. He's young, he's enthusiastic, he will chase absolutely anything. And obviously, listening to what he was saying is he lacked energy on the weekend. So obviously bringing somebody in like him, you know what you're going to get. You know he's going to run round for however long he's on that pitch, and he's going to give his absolute all. And sometimes that's what you need. You need that to galvanise the rest of the players. And it could be the first couple of minutes. He just chases something down, a lost cause, and he'll get the crowd up. He'll get the players up as well. So it's a big night for him.
Yeah, and we've seen flashes of what Daniel Jebison can do this season. Difficult when getting regular game time is not coming your way so often, to try and develop and take your game to the next level. So it's an opportunity for him tonight,
absolutely,
isn't it?
Yeah. Like you say, building on those performances, that's something as a player you're always looking to do. You kind of finish one game, and the result aside, on a selfish level, you're thinking, what from my performance was good, what can I improve, what do I want to change in the next game? But if you find yourself in and out, it can be difficult to get that consistency. So yeah, an opportunity for him to kind of claim that spot, if you like, and I just think he brings something different in terms of running the channel. That's something I think we miss at times. Everybody wants to come and grab it to feet, Ollie McBurney and Njai, and I think that he's got a different sort of dynamic in terms of, like say, the energy and physicality he can bring.
Yeah, I mentioned at the top about Middlesbrough. I watched the game last night. I know you did, Mark.
Yeah.
They looked at the end devastated to me as a group of players. I think they saw that as a massive opportunity missed by being held against Stoke, and in fairness to Stoke, they should have won that game last night.
Stoke obviously had huge opportunities, but I don't feel as if people understand how much mentally, it's not just physically, it's mentally, emotionally, the games take out of you, because going into that last 15 minutes, those Middlesbrough players would have known what was at stake, and how close they could have got to Sheffield United. The last 15 minutes, any pass that was given away, you can hear the fans getting on the backs. It's massive. Do you know what I mean? So the last 10 games is going to be huge, because you're going to have the ebbs and flows of the emotions of every player, and everything's just over analysed, overhyped. Everything. It's just obviously there's a lot at stake.
They'll be watching the Blaze tonight in the Middlesbrough camp, make no mistake about that, and they'll be gutted if United get the 3 points and then see that gap extend to 6 again. A lot of it is all in the mind now, isn't it? Psychologically, between now and the end of the season, both teams trying to outdo each other in that sense as well.
Yeah, that's it. It's important to just stay focused on what you can control and take care of your own performances and putting your own points on the board. And you kind of hope that once you've got that gap, that nobody can catch you if you keep your performances, where you'd want them. But obviously that's kind of narrowed off a little bit, and it's all to play for. Middlesbrough will be chasing, and I think that's an exciting position to be in when you're kind of chasing somebody else. You're putting pressure on somebody else, and obviously United have then got a bit of pressure from what's going on below them. But it's important that they can just stay focused on their own game, and it's theirs to lose. They have got a positive gap in their favour, so it's important to remember that.
Tricky one tonight, isn't it? Against a Sunderland team who went to Norwich and won at the weekend. Home form, they've been in and out, but Tony Mowbray has been saying this week that they're going to be safe now, and that was the main aim. But at the same time, they can play with a bit of freedom now. They can still make a late dart for the playoffs, but in many ways the freedom's off. The pressure's off for them. They can play with freedom now, can't they?
They've got like a good young team. I remember obviously that we done the game here and I was really impressed with them here.
Yeah.
You know, they're full of energy. They've got real good quality. You know, good young players at the top end of the pitch, who have that, you know, little bit of X factor, who can score goals. So it's a dangerous game for us, because obviously the expectations on us to go there and you know, win. But like, as we all know, the Championship is a unforgiving league, and you know, you cannot go into any stadium, you know, thinking you're just gonna roll in there and take those points. You've got to earn it.
No pressure on Sunderland tonight, is there? Really?
No, I wouldn't say so. I'd say it's more on United, if anything. You know, United know that they need to keep points on the board. It seems that every game that goes by, that becomes even more more important, you know, which goes without saying. But any team coming to play against United, the pressure is not on them, and I think that gives you a bit of freedom to sort of play as you want to play.
People realise how much the pressure mounts, because like I just spoke to you before, anywhere you go, people are speaking to you about it. I spoke to you about where you drop the kids off at school, the PE teacher wants to speak to you about it, you know, how well you're doing. You go to the shops, people want to speak to you about it. You come into football and work, it's all about the game, the next game. You literally can't get away from it. So what Hecky done the other weekend, giving them a break, was like perfect, because that's the only escape you can get from it.
I think that's important, because, like you say, it's just constant, isn't it? And when you are in that top spot, that's where you want to be. But everyone's chasing you, so pressure is on you, and that's hard to maintain that level of performance, that level of focus, that mentality. And like we say, of course, that's where you want to be. But when we saw against Spurs, the pressure wouldn't have been on United to win that game, and all of a sudden you play with a lot of freedom. You're relaxed, you're not worried about it. And I'm sure if you ask those players, are they nervous or anxious about playing and you know, etc., they'd probably say no. There'll be a bit of it, but it's a lot of subconscious, and that does affect your performance. Like
I feel as if you've got to say that though, because they're just the answers that everybody gives. We take each game as it comes, and you know, be prepared for the next game. But you go to bed at night, and some nights you're awake till 3 o'clock, because you're going through the game of the night before, and you're thinking, oh, we're playing up against, you know, he does this well, I need to do this. Then all of a sudden it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you're thinking, I've got to get up in 4 hours. And these are all the things that go through your head.
So did you ever find a way of coping with all of that?
Not really, no. It's just, you just got to deal with it. There's not much you can do, because obviously it means so much to you. You've just got to try and handle it as best as you can. You speak to, you know, the staff, the managers, or the players, but there's not much you can do.
Crazy. I was just thinking, from a player's point of view, we've been in a promotion battle. In the women's game, you have a game every week. We don't have anywhere near the fixture congestion that the men's teams do. So to have that every 3 days, every 5 days turn around, it's hard enough when it's every weekend or every other weekend, let alone having that constant turnaround physically and mentally.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, more from the guys shortly. Let's look back at the weekend. Obviously a disappointing result for Sheffield United. A Carlton Morris goal, enough to seal victory for the travelling Hatters.
And we're underway here at Bramall Lane. Njai. Now low. Looking for McBurney round the back. That's where it goes, and it's won by McBurney once more. Back in by Campbell. McBurney there again for United. Fleck trying to get his foot on the ball. McBurney a third time. There's the header. It's a save for Horvath. There is the half-time whistle. Bayo on the far side. Here he is. Looking to take on Fleck, and he has taken on Fleck, and he's put it into a dangerous position where Carlton Morris converts. 15th goal of the campaign for Morris. Luton have struck first. It was a really clever run to the near post, and Morris gives Luton the lead. Sharp. McBurney. He's done well, McBurney. McBurney's cross. Sharp. Back into the mix as a kind of a miscue. Berger's cross. McBurney's header. McBurney. Sharp. Can he turn? He can. Didn't get a clean connection though. Berger. McBurney's header. In from Doyle. It's loose in the area. And Adebayo clears.
Incredible delivery from Doyle.
Back in again by Tommy Doyle. Bogle might fall for Egan. Egan! Saved by Horvath. Gives it back to McAtee. McAtee centre. McBurney. Woodrow going for touch. There is a full-time whistle.
Well, after that game, Paul Heckingbottom admitted that his team played it too safe.
Yeah, I thought we were really tentative first half, and that's ultimately what's cost us. I know when I say it all the time, you look at the data, I know we'll have run, we'll have worked hard, but we didn't take enough risks in the first half, with the ball and without the ball. So trying to win the ball back high, trying to play and commit bodies forward and run beyond. So yeah, we paid the price for that. We started the second half on the front foot and began the way we want to play and how we want to start the game, and then ultimately we concede a goal when you're playing the way you want to play, and it's a real poor goal from our point of view, and I think that's gone down as their only shot on target when I don't even think it was a shot. Still don't know if it's gone in.
Yeah, doubly frustrating because they had very few chances today, Luton.
Yeah, they didn't have any, and but likewise ours weren't great chances. You know, we try and create good chances. We did have opportunities, headers from corners, and the ball dropping to us at the end didn't quite. When that could have easily been our moment. Yeah, but apart from the set plays, Ollie McBurney had a few headers. So yeah, we tried to create, but we didn't create the number and the quality of chances that we usually do.
You've got an honest group. They just got to take it on the chin now and look to respond as quick as possible.
Yeah, that's all we can do, take on the chin and look to respond. But we need the response, like I said, we need to play with that freedom that we've been playing with at the first part of the season. And I thought today was the first sign, a little bit of tension in the first half. If you're looking at reasons why, you may be playing on a little bit reserved and not as aggressive as we normally are.
Honest as always, Paul Heckingbottom picked a few things out there, didn't take enough risks, not enough energy in the side, didn't create the type of chances that they have been creating. And because I don't have much of a life, I've totted up how many shots United have had in the last 5 games. 61 shots in the last 5 league games, 23 on target. It's produced just 4 goals.
Yeah, that's probably the concerning thing, is obviously, you know, the goals were seen to dry up a little bit. You know, when we were really flying, you know, Illiman was scoring, creating, Ollie McBurney was scoring, Sharpie was coming on scoring. Right now, it seems a real struggle. You know, obviously looking back at the clips there, you know, John Egan's chance was probably the best chance of the game for us. The other half chances were headers from, you know, 12, 15 yards out. Not really great chances. And that's the disappointing thing, is they are lacking that little bit of creativity. If it doesn't come from Illiman doing something unbelievably well, you struggle to see where the chances are coming from at this present moment, but it can soon change.
I think there's been a lot of talk and a lot of, not pressure, but want for Illiman to be the star boy and the one who's going to do something special and create something out of nothing, and you can't, as a player, it's not, you can't manage to maintain that all season. If you can, then fair play to you, but it's difficult, and I think then at that point you're looking for other bodies to sort of step up, and you mentioned there you've got Ollie McBurney and other guys like Billy's coming in and scoring goals, things like that, but it has just dried up across the board, and you just wonder whether is there like a general lack of confidence? Is it that we're just not pulling the trigger? Are we just not getting into those areas as soon or as often as we'd like to? I think with, you know, the likes of McAtee, those sort of personnel, you want them on the pitch, you want them confident and going forward and really imposing themselves on teams, and I think against Luton we just looked very sort of not defensive, but we just lacked that going forward. It's like we just weren't confident or
belief. I think they just lack a little bit of that belief. There was clips there where Sanders gets the ball from deep and he's putting it in, but he's actually 1v1 against their midfielder with his size and pace and strength. You want him just driving at him and just knocking the ball past him, and he'll just be able to brush him off, and then he's driving towards the box, and then you're asking questions of their defence. Does someone come out and engage him, and he can maybe slide someone in? But putting it in from deep at an angle, you know, Ollie's up against 2 or 3 centre halves. It's much easier to defend. You've got to put the balls in from the right areas, and statistically, it's down the sides. You need to get down the sides of teams and cause them problems down there.
And we know we can do that.
Yeah, we've seen it time and time again. When we mentioned, I think in the last game, like you said, getting the ball down the sides, like the side of the 18-yard box. I think one of the chances where Ollie McBurney's made a run, crossed it just on the byline to the back post. You know, that's perfect. That's the run that you want to see. And, you know, maybe Jefferson in this game might be able to bring that sort of side of the game, but we massively lacked that. And usually that's an area that one player or somebody else is getting into. And as a defender, that's not where you want to be defending. You want to be well away from your goal. You don't want somebody squaring up to. You certainly don't want them squaring up to have a shot. But then when you flip it from the attacker's point of view, what's stopping you taking that shot? What's stopping you driving at that player? Because I can guarantee you the defender is thinking, please don't. What are you doing?
That's where the Reading goal come from against them. Ollie McBurney down the sides, squares it back for Ilman.
Yeah. Does it come back down to belief, pressure, confidence, all of those things?
Yeah, I think a bit of everything.
Is it just that stage of the season?
I think it's just that stage of the season. The tension, as Hecky mentioned there, the tension mounts up, and as you go onto the pitch, you feel it. Just as we talked about before, but you're thinking about it the night before the game, and it does start to mount up everywhere you go. Everyone's talking about it, but it's who can handle it the best. Yeah,
and that's the thing, isn't it? Characters in the dressing room. Who do you think are the leaders? Obviously, we know John Egan is one of them.
Yeah.
Who do you think the other leaders are? Because the higher up the pitch you go, there's a lot of inexperience there, if you like. Illiman's still, inexperienced. Doyle, inexperienced. McAtee, inexperienced. Sander Berger, playing football in this country, inexperienced. Is that where you miss the kind of elder statesman, as it were?
Possibly higher up the pitch. I think there's a lot of characters certainly in the back line. You mentioned Egan, Robinson, players that are just going to throw everything at it. But like you say, from an experience point of view, with that sort of, that sort of craziness towards it that's been around it, that can just sort of bring people up with them. You know, I'm not sure who these characters would be, but you definitely need them. Ollie McBurney, maybe. I don't know. You may know more than me.
I think when you look at the team, there is a lot of experience in the group. But then obviously you look at the team tonight, and quite a bit of the experience is all on the bench. Now that could play an important role when they come on, but also, for me, I would want the experience on the pitch, especially in the early stages of a game, just because they've been there, they've done it, they have that know-how. Sometimes you see Sharpie come on and he'll bring the ball down, and he'll wait for the centre half to just come and nudge him, and he'll go down, and we all know he's waiting for that contact, but that's just the know-how, and that's the experience of, just seeing out games, and I think that's such a huge part at this stage of the season. So
I just think it's a collective, staff and players included, to just sort of take hold of that, and whether it is a belief thing, to just sort of instill that back into each other, like, encourage your teammates, give them a free license to go and express themselves, tell Illiman to go and get someone 1v1, Sander, go and take a shot. If it goes into the stands, so be it, but go and have a shot, and to actually have a license and a bit of freedom to be able to do that. And it might not come off, but the next one will come off. And I think if you're not even having those shots, if you don't shoot, you don't score. So it's important to just allow players to just feel comfortable and like they have a license to go and play their game, because they're quality players and they've got fantastic technique and experience. They just maybe they're just lacking a bit of belief at the minute. I'm not sure.
But for all that we dissect and analyse every single department within this squad, we mustn't forget that it's still a really healthy position that Sheffield United find themselves in. There it is. Burnley, they're gone. And, tonight, if Sheffield United win, they go to 70 points. That'd leave Middlesbrough on 64. Blades will have a weekend off from league action, of course. They're in action against Blackburn in the FA Cup, so Middlesbrough could close it again. This is how it's going to be, nip and tuck, between now and the end of the season. But it's still in United's hands.
Yeah, of course, and you would want it that way. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't want it the opposite way round, and we were chasing them. As I say, people just get a little bit caught up because the lead was bigger. But as I say, that's just the championship, and teams have spells where they have little dips in form, and unfortunately we're just having that little bit of a dip in form. But it can soon change. You go to anywhere and you pick up a good result, all of a sudden the confidence comes back.
I think also the dip in form has coincided with a lot of fixtures against teams that really are trying to cement themselves in a top 6 spot, like the likes of Middlesbrough, Luton, Millwall as well. Like they are tough games, and it's easy to forget that when you just look at the results and things like that. But on the whole, you're going to expect ups and downs, and it's just a case of carrying yourself through it.
They're all tight games, though, aren't they? You know, all been settled by a goal. When you look at those results there, so it shows you how easily it can go one way or the other.
Yeah, and that is the Championship for you. The majority of the time, they are close games. A lot of the time, it's how you start the game and who scores the first goal, which is so vital in the Championship. You know, you get that lead, you know, the percentage-wise, you go on to secure the 3 points, or at least 8 points. We just got to start the game a lot better. Obviously, Saturday, it was a bit of a slow start.
I mean, you talk about the lead being nibbled at by Middlesbrough and how it's come down. Does that play it's got to play a part in your head? Because when you're 14 points clear, you're thinking, happy days, even though publicly players won't come out and say it, but privately they're thinking, this is looking good. Then all of a sudden it goes from 14 to 7 to 5 to 4 to 3, and now you're trying to build it back up again.
It just adds to that pressure, because there's not one single player in that dressing room that won't be aware of the points difference and won't be checking on the results, the teams around them, and yeah, like looking at that points, the gap has been closing, and you could say, oh, it's lucky we've had that big points difference in the first place. Well, it's not lucky. They earned that. You know, they went and got those results, and in a sense, it's lucky because of the form we've had recently, but it's still there, and it is still theirs to lose, and that's the main thing, that it's in their control. So I think they just need to remember that. But yeah, you're right. I don't think any one of them will be ignoring the fact that those points are so close.
Absolutely not. Coming up for Sheffield United, as I mentioned, Blackburn this weekend on Mothering Sunday. Sheffield United against Blackburn for a place in the FA Cup semi-finals. Kick-off at 12 o'clock. Then a trip to Norwich City follows on Saturday the 1st of April. 3 o'clock kick-off. We'll be on air from 2. And then it's Wigan at home, I should say, here on Friday the 7th of April. A 3 o'clock kick-off, a 2 o'clock start for SUTV Live. Now, the Blades edged it when they met Sunderland here earlier in the season. A sending off for Sunderland's Dan Neil appeared to be the big turning point, and the Blades took full advantage.
It's control from Pritchard. Here's Brewster. Rian Brewster comes here for Njai, and then Norwood. McAtee makes a break down the centre. Here's Lowe. Brewster. McAtee over the free kick. There it goes. The corner kick. And it goes from Norwood. And they queue it up. And it's a goal, a first goal for Sheffield United for Anel Almahadic. Wonderful delivery. And Almahadic heads home. United a goal up and a man up. Plenty of movement, and it goes from Norwood. Again, it's attacked well. Sims gets it clear. Balled up to hit one. And the Menenjai get things moving again. Norwood again. Lovely dummy by Berger. Almahadic, chance here. Brilliant goal for United. And it's a first goal for the Blades from Max Lowe. Terrific football from United. They've carved Sunderland open, and they have a 2-goal advantage. Now's a chance here for Gooch, and he's going to lift it over. West Foderingham and Sunderland have got themselves a lifeline. United giving the ball away. Berger driving for United. Berger making things happen. Berger with a strike, deflection against the post. On to John Fleck, now McBurney. McBurney strike, it was brilliant build-up play. Berger. Norwood to hit one! Cadra. McBurney. McBurney! Fine save from Patterson. In comes the corner. Egan! Another good save. Back in by Berger. Cadra. Blocked by O'Nien.
A repeat result would do very nicely indeed for Sheffield United tonight. Let's have a look at that team news again for the Blades and how they line up at Sunderland. 4 changes. Bogle, Norwood, Fleck and McBurney, the players to drop out of the starting 11. Coming in, Baldock, Doyle, McAtee and Jebison. So Paul Higginbottom looking to freshen things up. Well, he's certainly doing that tonight. Baldock coming in the right wing-back position. Bogle dropping out. Is that because he maybe offers a bit more defensively?
Possibly. I think also he has that bit of experience that we were talking about before. He's been there and done it before. And, you know, look, I don't think there's much between Bulldog and Bogle, if I'm totally honest. Yeah, but defensively probably slightly a bit better.
Jefferson with Njai has the potential to be an interesting partnership, doesn't it? I'm looking forward to seeing how that one develops.
Yeah, it's it'd be interesting to see that one. I think it gives Jefferson the option to provide the energy and the pressing, running the channels as we mentioned earlier. Obviously, a lot of youth in that team as well, just to support that. You've got McAtee in there, and hopefully Illiman will be able to find little pockets. If you've got Jefferson running in behind, the gaps should open up for Illiman, and hopefully he'll be able to, get lots of touches on the ball and be creative as we know and I've seen him do.
Let's have a look at Sunderland's recent form. We'll spend the next few minutes talking about them. Really impressive win at Norwich at the weekend. Again, the Championship. You look at the game before where they got walloped 5-1 at home by Stoke. So that win at Norwich was important for them. It snapped a 4-match winless streak. They've still got an outside chance of making it into the top 6, and they've got a manager who's very experienced. I do like him. Tony Mowbray is a proper football man, but he's got a reputation of playing attractive, exciting football. We saw it at Blackburn. It's very much on the front foot. Same at Sunderland. It's a young squad. Yeah. And to have them in the position that they're in, I think that's testament to what he's done, because obviously they started with Alex Neil, who jumped ship, and he's kept it moving on since then.
Yeah, no, he's done a fantastic job. Obviously anywhere he's been, he's done well. As you said, he plays a style of football that's quite attractive. He's got a young squad there, and I think you can look at those results and probably analyse it and go, potentially that is what happens when you've got a young squad. You could have a couple of games where they take a few heavy defeats, but then they can bounce back, because obviously they have that enthusiasm just to go out there and play with that freedom. I actually watched the game against Norwich, and I thought they were good value for the win. So it is a dangerous game for us.
Big crowd, big club. It's personally I like to see a team like Sunderland in the Championship. They really add something. Passionate fan base, great atmosphere up there.
Yeah.
And probably should be not at this level either. They should probably be in the level above, a bit like we all believe Sheffield United should be.
That's it, yeah. You'd expect a club of that nature, like you say, massive fan base, very passionate. It's going to be a difficult place to go, without a doubt, just because of that and the environment that will be created, in this game. But like I said, they are a young team, and I think there's areas that could prove to, benefit Sheffield United. They're very inconsistent from their results. You'd see, like you say, the 5-1 loss and then coming back to beat Norwich, but they've got a lot to play for. They've got a young team that's going to be hungry for it, wanting to prove points, and it's an exciting time for them, I think, as well.
I think we can have a look at how Sunderland are going to go as well tonight. Unsurprisingly, it's the same side that won at Norwich at the weekend. The only change is on the bench, where Alex Pritchard returns from his recent injury. So it'll be Patterson in goal. They play 4-2-3-1, or should do. Hume, Ballard, Bart and O'Nien at the back. Neil and Michu as the two City midfield players. Then it's Roberts, Barr and Clark, with Gelhardt. He's not really a striker, but having to play up front, because that's where they're desperately short. They started the season with Ross Stewart, who was terrific last season. He had a great start to this season. They had Ellis Sims as well on loan from Everton. He's subsequently gone back, and that's left them massively short-handed now. Yeah,
definitely. But I've seen quite a bit of Gelhardt, and he is a really good player. He is really...
A bit like you, isn't he? But well, that role?
Well, I'll take that as a compliment.
But he's not an out-and-out striker, is he?
He's not an out-and-out striker, but he is really good quality. He's got that left foot silkiness. He drives with the ball. He goes past people, and he's only a young lad, but he's got that physicality about him as well. So he is a player that we do have to keep an eye on. And obviously the likes of Jack Clark as well. He's got that pace and the raw attributes what got him his move to Tottenham.
I saw from the nature of the goal that they scored the other day, it just kind of almost epitomises just young players just wanting to, impose themselves on the game, have shots early, the way that shot's gone in from outside the box, it just goes to show you wouldn't expect somebody to be hitting it from there. And you got Roberts and Clark who are just going to cut in and take those opportunities, and something for Sheffield United defenders to be aware of, because they're certainly going to want to attack and be direct.
Yeah, and obviously inconsistency comes from young players, doesn't it? You touched on there. It's difficult for a manager to get that level of consistency week in, week out.
I think that's where the balance of younger and senior players plays such a huge role, because younger players can have inconsistency in games. They can have 10 or 15 minutes where they're really good, but then have a 15-minute spell where they're really poor. And then you need the experienced players to you sort of help them through the game and, you know, nurture them and develop them through that patch in the game. Whereas senior players, they know how to handle that, and the next time they get the ball, if they've just gave it away, they'll probably just get it, keep things ticking over. Whereas younger players think that they have to do something special because they've just gave the ball away the previous time, and then the next time they get it, they try and go past 2 or 3 players, and then they'll lose it again. So it's all in the mind, isn't it?
Keep an eye on Luco 9 tonight, the pantomime villain. He's a bit of a character, isn't he? He's loved up at on the northeast. There was one game where, I forget which game it was recently, where he hitched a piggyback ride on one of the opposition players. Then he planted a kiss on another player at the weekend. He's a character, wholehearted character, can play multiple positions. I'm going to ask Mark this. How would you react if an opposition player suddenly planted a smacker on you?
Yes, I don't know. How I'd
It
react,
works.
to be
It
honest.
certainly wound up the opposition.
Yeah, obviously I've seen him play quite a few times. You know, as you say, he's a character, and you need characters. You know, I'm pretty sure their dressing room will love him. You know, he's that type of infectious person. He gives everything he can. He's wholehearted, and he seems to be enjoying his football.
He certainly does. Are you the kind of player, Ellie, that likes to wind the opposition up? Any tricks that you'd like to share with us?
I'd be lying if I said I didn't. I don't mind a challenge.
I know you do.
Yeah,
me.
you need characters like that, you know, like players that are going to give a bit and a little bit of a wind up, like within reason. But I watched that clip. I must admit, I thought it was quite funny. We were having a bit of a laugh about it at training last night. Like, how do you react if someone like somebody did that to you in a game? Like,
How would you react?
I don't know, to be honest.
I think you'd
be
be
like,
too
what?
stunned to react, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
I would have thought. Well, in terms of United tonight, who's going to be key, do you think? When you look at how the two, now we've seen both sides, who do you see as being the main players to look out for?
I just think the midfield battle in any game is such a key part of the way we play. And I'll be really intrigued to see how we play in that midfield, with Doyle coming in, and you know, McAtee, obviously he's played quite a lot of games, but when somebody like Ollie goes out the team, it's the dynamics of the team change, but just because of his passing range. And I know Doyle is very good on the ball, and he also has a really good passing range, but it's not to the level of Ollie. But obviously he brings different attributes to the team, so I'll be intrigued to see how we do in midfield.
We've picked out 1 or 2 Sunderland players that you might want to keep an eye on tonight. Thankfully, one of the players on this graphic does not feature, and that's Amad Diallo, and I'm quite relieved about that because he was sensational when I saw him earlier in the season. He's out injured, but we mentioned it there. They've got plenty of legs at the top end of the pitch, plenty of movement in the likes of Roberts and Clark. Dan Neal's been terrific for them this season. He was the one who got sent off here at Bramall Lane, and then big Dan Ballard will be partnered by Danny Bart at the back. Not the most mobile centre-half pairing, and you look at that and you think, maybe that's an area that Sheffield United could target, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, you know, Danny Bart is an experienced player, but he won't have the legs what he used to have. So if you can get Illiman turned and run at that back line, like he showed, he can absolutely twist any centre-half up. So that is our game plan, is get the ball to Illiman on the half turn, get him turned and run at their centre-halves. Yeah, that would be my tactics.
No, yeah, I'd agree. Like, you've got Illiman who can drop in there, like I say, McAtee as well. But also, it'd be nice to see wing-backs getting involved a little bit more so than they did in the previous game. I think that gives more options to join in with the attack, for the ball to be spread left and right and create those little pockets. And it just, like I say, gives the person on the ball, more options at that time. And little quick passages of play is when Sheffield United look their best and they look their sharpest. And I think that was probably what was missing in the last game. But you know, in this one, I think that's definitely something that we could, you know, impose on the opposition.
Kick-off about 20 minutes away up at the Stadium of Light. It is Sunderland against Sheffield United. We're going to break off now and hear from a young man who's certainly played a starring role here against Tottenham in the FA Cup recently. He's Andre Brooks, so we've been asking him about his experience of playing on that big night.
Yeah, it was good. Obviously, when I found out, I was just speechless, really. Found out a team in training who were doing a shape. But I had like an idea I was starting it before, because obviously all the boys came up to me in pre-op saying like, oh, I think you might be playing, but I didn't really think much of it until obviously the gaffer mentioned it in training. So yeah, it was an unbelievable feeling.
You've been in and around the first team, you've had a few cameos off the bench as well. Some big games at Bramall Lane, but perhaps no bigger than FA Cup fifth round tie.
Especially against Tottenham as well, Premier League side, coming to the Lane. It was just good feeling.
You say the manager sort of told you in training, so how did that happen? Did they just pull you to one side and give you the
Nah, actually just doing the shape, and he just said, oh, just name the team. And I heard my name, I was like, I just literally just froze, didn't know what to do, didn't know what to say, I was just speechless.
Who's the first person that you spoke to and told that you were playing?
Obviously, my friends, I'm from 21s, I went to change room straight away and told them. Obviously, they were all buzzing for me. Then I rang my mum, and she started crying on the phone, so yeah.
Kyron and Siddy's been involved at times as well, and obviously Will and Daniel Jefferson, so I can imagine that's quite a close group of people.
Yeah, obviously. Like I said, against Burnley, when I first made my first appearance for United, I obviously came on a pitch with Blaster, and obviously that was a good feeling sharing a big stage with him. Obviously, we've been here together since he was 8, so it was an unbelievable feeling. Me and him got to share the pitch together.
So tell us your Sheffield United story then. You said you've been here since the age of 8, but you were a fan as well?
Yeah, obviously I went to all the games as a youngster. Been here since 8. Got a scholar at 16, but at first I wasn't getting a scholar. Obviously I had to work myself. So I waited 4 months on to get a scholar. I was the last scholar I gave out. And the same with a pro really. I was the last person to get a pro, so I was the youngest in the group, so progression wasn't really there to start off with, but now it's good.
And in that time, since you've been here since the age of 8, Sheffield United, I'd imagine back then, 2012 would have been a League One team, so a lot has changed in that time.
I've been up and down from League One to the Premier League in 3 seasons, so it's good.
Who were your Sheffield United idols then when you were on the terraces watching the Blazers?
Obviously, Billy Sharp, goal scorer. He's done a lot for the club, he's still going, so.
And what is it like, kind of watching him as a fan and then seeing him up close and personal and how he conducts himself?
He's a good guy. Like, he helps me a lot in training, like talks me through it, all this stuff. He tells me to be confident and just come out my shell a little bit more. Obviously, I'm a quiet one, so everyone's just got my back.
And the plan now, I mean, you can't quite probably tell this, but you've got an injury at the moment. You're just waiting on the results of a scan. So what's the plan for you between now and the end of the season?
Obviously, just try to get through my injury as quick as possible. Try to get back up on the first team. Yeah, start playing games, more games, and just get fit and ready for this season.
So if you can play a part between now and the end of the season, that would be a huge boost and a bonus for you.
Yeah, hopefully we can get promoted as well. Obviously, second, 4 points behind, 4 points in front of Middlesbrough actually. So yeah.
He was very impressive against Tottenham here recently in that FA Cup victory. Talk about make you feel old though. Who's your hero on the terraces growing up as a kid? Billy Sharp. Goodness me. Just shows you, doesn't it, how times change and how old us 3 are. Well, 2 of us are anyway. Or maybe just 1 of us.
Yeah, but as you say, you know, times do change, and you know, I thought he was brilliant when he played against Tottenham. You know, if he's anything like the other Brooks, you know, he'll be a very good player.
Yeah, absolutely. But isn't it great to see another youngster come through? And that's been the one. Not the one, but one of the big positives, hasn't it, over the last couple of years, that we've seen these kids not only come through, but get an opportunity and take that opportunity for the most part when they've been given it.
Yeah, that's it, and it's, you know, massive credit to the academy setup and producing the players that are then going on to represent the first team. Like Andre Brooks has been there since he's the age of 8, and he's now, you know, had his first team debut and he's playing alongside his idol. So, you know, that's massive, and it's good for other younger players in the academy system to see that and see that there is a pathway, and you know, if they chase it, work hard, that could be them as well. So it gives them something to aim for.
Yeah, learn a lot off Billy as well, won't he? Because he's another player who's taken a similar path.
Yeah, definitely, and you know, obviously with the experience they've got in the group, there'll be loads of people there who are there to help them, especially the younger players. But it's great that they get the opportunity, because you need that pathway for younger players to come through, to believe that they can, you know, all the hard work will pay off at some point. Without people getting that opportunity, sometimes, you know, they can lose that little bit of faith. But when they see that people getting opportunities, whether it's Illiman, whether it's Brooks or whoever, you know, it kicks them on.
Yeah. Do you remember getting your opportunity as a... Well, you're still young anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about, but when you were younger...
Yeah.
And what that was like?
First team debut at Reading Football Club, I was 16. So I was sort of knocking on the door of the first team for a while, just waiting for that opportunity. You know, you're sitting on the bench just waiting for the manager to go, yeah, come on. And being a defender, I felt like that opportunity was was a bit harder to come by. But yeah, I wouldn't even say I'm, you know, one of the older ones in the dressing room, but I feel more experienced now.
Yeah.
You see the kids coming through and they're like 17, 18, 19.
And do they lean on you? Are you able to pass nuggets of information down?
I think you do
advice?
naturally without even realising. You just sort of find yourself like encouraging them or giving them little tips in training. And don't be wrong, I'll still take them off more senior players as well, because you're always learning, like no matter what age you are and where you're at in your career. But yeah, it's nice to think that you can kind of support them in, you know, little things, even if it's off the pitch, like injuries, stuff like that. There's a lot to learn, and there's a lot involved in the game.
Same for you. Did you get?
Well, I come from the non-league, didn't I? So
Prescott Cables,
yeah.
isn't it?
So obviously mine was a different route. I was, you know, obviously going from non-league and playing with men from a very early age, so I had to learn quickly, you know, how to handle myself.
Yeah, and that served you well, mate. It served you well, to be fair. And he's still doing it at Macclesfield. You played, didn't you?
I played
on the weekend.
Yeah.
Starring role?
I wouldn't say starting role.
Well, you set one of the goals up, didn't you?
Yeah, 1-2-0, so happy with that.
And just so we're clear, how many points ahead are you?
10 points clear.
10 points clear, see?
Yeah.
Can turn his hand to anything, this fella, I tell you. Right, back to the here and now. Sheffield United up at Sunderland tonight. Max Lowe was on target when these two met here earlier in the season. He's been talking about that gap, though, that has been closed by Middlesbrough of late.
Yeah, I think it's no secret they're on a really good run. But like I said, we don't have to stress about how they're doing, because we take care of our results, we'll be fine. Middlesbrough are on a really good run, but we can do exactly the same. You know, we've proved that earlier on this season that we can go on runs for 10 games which is left, so we're still really confident with the position we're in.
What do you expect from Sunderland? They had been on a difficult run, they've got a result in the bag now. Do you expect that their confidence is going to be raised going into this game?
Yeah, watched them yesterday against Norwich. They're a young team, got some good individual players. Like most games in the league, it's not going to be easy, especially at their place. They're going to bring numbers, so I feel like we've got a point to prove now. A lot of people are talking about us, so it gives us an extra edge.
Does that give you? Yeah. Does that help? You know, do you feel like people doubting you might put a chip on your shoulder because everyone's saying, look at Middlesbrough, keep an eye on them? Can that motivate you a bit?
Yeah, it feels that way. It's more fuel for the fire, I'd say, going into this last stretch. It gives us more of a reason, not like we need one, but you know, we're all in it together and we need to prove that to everyone watching.
Interesting there that, you know, he says the critics almost serve as a motivation, because let's be honest, we've done it as well tonight, haven't we? But it's the beauty of it. We can talk about it in the terms of, it's looking like a two-horse race for that second spot. But if you're in the United camp and everyone's talking about Michael Carrick and the wonderful job that he's done there and the run that they've been on, there's going to be something inside you surely that says, hang on a minute, we're second. We've been in the top two since November or whatever it was. We'll show you.
Yeah, well, that's what you want. You know, I'm sure Hecky would highlight that as well. You know, people are doubting you, so go out there and prove them wrong, because you've proved a lot of people wrong all years in your careers previously. You know, all season, people have said that you might get promoted, but now they're sort of doubting you, so it's down to you to go out there and prove people wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think it's important that they kind of remember that they are second, and there's a lot of confidence you can take from that as well. Teams should be fearing coming to play you rather than the other way around, and it's easy to get wrapped up in, oh God, they're 4 points behind us now, or whatever it is. You know, it's just, you look at those points on the table and think, oh, pressure's on, but you are the one in second place, and you are the ones to beat. So go out and do your thing, and I think having that belief and confidence from that position alone is massively important.
Yeah, and it's a test of the manager's qualities to a point, isn't it, at the moment? Because it's not about, well, it is. It's about getting performances on the pitch, but it's a lot about managing people now and seeing who might be struggling a little bit and who might need a lift, who might need an arm round the shoulder, when it is so intense the way that it is at the moment.
Well, that's man management, and that's, for me, I think, obviously Wilder was superb at that. The man management, you know, the little conversations that he'd have with you, you know, as you talked about there, just seeing if someone was a little bit low, seeing someone's confidence was a little bit down, going over, having those little individual chats with them, asking them, is everything okay, how are they feeling mentally, physically, all the rest of it. So it's just, you know, just those chats, it can sort of take the weight off your shoulders, and at this time, that's huge.
I asked Mark earlier how he coped with pressure. What are you like in pressurised situations, Ellie?
I generally, I think I play better when I'm under pressure. Yeah, like, and I know a lot of players probably say that anyway, but when there's games where you think, oh, I've got to play here or else I'm not going to keep my shirt, or we've got a game we have to win or else we're not going up, like those sort of games, I think as long as you've prepared right and you've done everything in the week or weeks leading up to that game or that fixture, you can just take confidence from the fact that you've prepared properly. You've done everything you can do at that point. So just relax, like just go out, enjoy it, like, take the pressure off your shoulders and just play your game, because if you go in all tense and things like that, you're not allowing yourself to even probably move as freely as you normally do, let alone focus on your game.
Do you have, so say you prepare for a game the week before and you play really well, would you try and prepare the same way? Because I know like Jack O'Connell, he is insane with his preparations. If he does something, if he stop at a coffee shop and he plays well, he'll want to stop at that coffee shop every single time, because he has these things that goes through his head. If he doesn't stop there, he might perform poorly. Now, a lot of players go through this, so I see it when you're in the dressing room. It's like they have all different rituals and superstitions, and it's like, oh my God, this is insane. But that's just because of pressure.
I think the preparation side of it for me is more like taking care of your physical and your tactical stuff, and knowing what your role is and knowing what you're up against, that kind of thing, and just making sure that you've had a good week, like football wise. But I know what you mean, it comes down to these little moments. Like, I'm the worst for it. I've always put like my right boot on, my right shinny, and then my right sock first. If ever I have to get my right ankle strapped, I can't put anything else on until that's done. Like, it doesn't mean I don't think I'm going to win. It's just a comfort thing, isn't it?
That's quite normal, that superstition though, but here's a chance to out somebody within that dressing room. Any unusual ones that you can share? Seeing as Mark's brought this up.
Yeah, not that I've come across. I have to have a think. I'm sure there are some.
Well, you're going to be on commentary duty anyway, so you can, when you've thought of that person that you want to out and embarrass, then by all means do it alongside Matt. What about you? You mentioned Jack O'Connell there. Any interesting, strange ones?
I play the player Callum Connolly.
Who's at Blackpool now.
Yeah, so when we'd stay over in overnight hotels, when he'd walk down corridors and he'd see plug switches, every plug switch had to be turned off. So the lads used to all switch them on. And so Callum wouldn't be able to go to sleep. He'd literally go down the corridor, switching them off. It was like,
that is strange.
It's like,
it's a good one.
Yeah, that's crazy, that.
Anyhow, you've got a dash to go and do commentary, so quickly, prediction, how's this one going tonight?
I'm going to go 1-1. If not a draw, then Blades will 1-0 win.
Okay, we'll get Mark Duffy's prediction shortly, but before we get to kick-off at the Stadium of Light, more from Paul Heckingbottom, who's pleased to have a game so quickly after the disappointment of the Luton affair.
Yeah, it's important. It's important. We know now, last 10 games, excuse me, the games get bigger, they get tougher. We know the atmosphere up there is going to be great. They've been ahead of us and had the highest average attendance in the Championship this season. So we know they're going into a real good atmosphere, and we like that, we enjoy that, and we believe that will bring the best out of us. But we know we're going to have to be at our best against a dangerous team.
There's little room for error in this league, especially when you've got other teams around you who have been on such fine form recently as well. How are you stopping that pressure get to players, knowing that they can't lose again, that they can't really perform that way again? Yeah, well, we've been a team that when we've had to produce, we've produced, you know. But it's all right saying that. We know we have to make it happen, and that's the thing. We've got nothing to fear, nothing to lose. We just need to go and, like I said, produce the performance that we know we're capable of, and generally that's been good enough. So again, it's in our control. If anyone had spoke to us at the start of the season and said you'd be, with 10 games to go, you'd be second, you'd be in the quarter-final of an FA Cup, we'd have snapped the hands off, you know. We would have. So where we are, we deserve to be here. We need to focus on the things that we've done really well up until this point and try and block out the rest. Because ultimately it's down to us, it's down to what we do, so we have to use that as a real positive.
So that's Paul Heckingbottom, the last we'll hear from him until after the game. What do you reckon tonight, Mark? How's it going?
I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw, a few goals.
Yeah, and would you...
Hopefully I'm wrong and we win.
Would you be satisfied with a point tonight?
Yeah, I would say I'd be satisfied. It's just difficult, just at this stage of the season. And going off the way we played on Saturday, it wasn't great. So I'm looking forward to the game. But yeah.
The players will know, though, that they let themselves down at the weekend. You'll have been in that position. It happens. What's the determination like when you know you've got a game coming up so quickly in terms of trying to put the wrongs right, as it were?
Yeah, you just want to go out there and right those wrongs, to be honest, because obviously you come off that pitch and you know you haven't performed well. There's been probably a lot said on social media and things like that, and so you just want to go out there and do yourself justice, and you know you really are chomping at the bit to go out there and put in performance.
At the same time, to be involved at the cut and thrust of it all like United are at the moment, that's why every player gets involved in the game in the first place. Anyway, I think they're about ready for us at the Stadium of Light. So stand by, more from Ellie Wilson and your commentator, Matt Young. We'll see you back here at half-time. Enjoy the game.